Welcome to Leading with Gratitude Live. I'm your host, Chester Elton, the Apostle of Appreciation, coming to you live and in color from the Gratitude Epicenter of the Universe Summit, New Jersey. We say give us 30 minutes and we'll give you great information, great inspiration, and a roadmap to create a culture of gratitude where you live and where you work. And we're broadcast on all the great channels from LinkedIn to YouTube to Facebook, brought to you by the fabulous people at the Methods Network. Well, listen, I'm really delighted to introduce our guest for today. His name is David Meerman Scott. Let me tell you a little bit about my new friend, David. If the changes thrust upon us by the coronavirus did anything, they affirm how much we value human connection, especially in our daily lives. David, who helps companies and organizations define strategies to grow business, has been researching this idea of human connection for some time. Overwhelmed by nonstop superficial online communication, people are hungry for true human connection. Smart companies and organizations are winning by applying the elements of fandom. It's not just for celebrities anymore, it's a rocket fuel to grow your business. David's 11th and latest book, Fanocracy, written with his millennial daughter, Reiko, reveals the science behind fandom, the power of making business personal. I'm excited to introduce you my new friend, David Meerman Scott. Welcome to the show, David.
Hey, Chester, thanks so much. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, it was great. Now, listen, as we have this show, we're going to have some questions, and we're going to throw it to our good friend, Justin Levere, in the question command center. Justin, if you can wave to the crowd so we all know who you are and see your wonderful smiling face. And by the way, I've got to apologize to Justin. I've been spelling his name wrong since we started this show, so I will make that change next time, Justin. Well, listen, David, you've written this fabulous book about fandom, and how it applies to business. That Fanocracy is what you call it. So tell me what was the journey for you to write that book?
Yeah, so I was thinking about the fact that I am just a massive, massive fan of the Grateful Dead in particular, and live music in general. I've been to 804 live music shows in my life, which I know is a ridiculous number. And I know the exact number because I actually keep a spreadsheet starting from when I was 15 years old. And I've been to 75 Grateful Dead concerts. Love, love, love the Grateful Dead. Huge fan. In fact, I'm so much of a fan that I've actually got a Grateful Dead themed mask that I wear when I'm outside and making sure that I'm keeping my social distance. And so I had this idea that fandom is a really valuable thing for businesses. So I teamed up with my daughter, Reiko. She's 27 years old now. We started to collaborate about 5 years ago on this idea of fandom. And our thesis for what eventually became our book, Fanocracy, is that any organization, any person, any kind of business can build fans.
That's amazing. Now, your daughter, Reiko, she's a millennial, and you point that out time and time again. Why was it so important that you get her involved in this project specifically?
So I really wanted to look at fandom from as big a perspective as I possibly could. And so I looked at it and I said, okay, how can I talk with a whole bunch of people about what they're a fan of? How can I speak with business owners and CEOs about how they've built fans for their business. And as I was doing that, I was realizing that I was coming at it from the perspective of a middle-aged white guy who loves the Grateful Dead. And I started to talk with Reiko about how, hey, what are you a fan of? What are the things that are cool for you? And Reiko, and I knew these things, but Reiko told me, oh my gosh, I am such a massive fan of Harry Potter. I'm such a fan of Harry Potter, she said. I've not only read every book multiple times, seen every movie multiple times, gone to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter theme park in Orlando a couple of times, went to London to go on the studio tour, but she finished an 85,000-word alternative ending of the Harry Potter series where Draco Malfoy is a spy for the Order of the Phoenix. Put that on a fan fiction site, and it's been downloaded thousands of times. So she is a Harry Potter geek. So not only is she a Harry Potter geek, but she's also very different from me in that she's my daughter. So we're obviously different generations, obviously different genders. My wife, Reiko's mother, is Japanese. Reiko was born in Tokyo. And also she's a scientist. She graduated with a neuroscience degree from Columbia University. And then just recently, in the last 2 months, finished medical school. And she's now doing her emergency medicine residency at Boston Medical Center. So Reiko and I have the exact same ideas of fandom, but we have a completely different perspective on fandom, being different generations, different genders. We love different things. So she's a perfect co-author for me.
That's excellent. So, inquiring minds want to know, the Sorting Hat put her in what house? You remember?
Oh yeah. She's a Slytherin, and what's really interesting is that Reiko and we're just so freaking different, and so this whole thing with Harry Potter and with me and the Grateful Dead, we were talking to so many people about what they love, and we found tons of different things. So Chester, you didn't know this was coming. I want to know what you are a fan of: a band, a sports team, a hobby, a location. What are you a fan of?
Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking, by the way. I grew up in Canada, so hockey is my passion, and I am a diehard New Jersey Devils fan. So that's my
Nice.
team.
Are you
Now,
a player as well, or just a fan?
I played when I was 7 and 8 years old, and then we moved from Edmonton to Vancouver, and ice time was harder. So my professional career was derailed when I was 8 years old. But thanks for asking, David. It's interesting. We talk about sports fans, and you were saying that you live in Boston, and Boston has a lot of championships, which I live closer to New York, drives New Yorkers crazy, as you well know. Interestingly enough, though, you're a sumo fan. You lived in Tokyo. What lessons did you learn from sumo? And are sumo fans different from like hockey, baseball, football fans?
Sumo fans are kind of rabid and kind of crazy. So yeah, I lived in Tokyo for 7 years. I went over to Tokyo as a young single man with at the age of 26 with 2 suitcases. I ended up staying 7 years. I returned with 126 boxes, a wife and a daughter. So it was a very lucrative time to be in Tokyo, to acquire my whole family while I was there. But I just loved the idea of sumo. I loved the idea of what's going on with this crazy sport, and I got really into it. And so, as Reiko and I were talking about this whole idea of fandom in general, whether it was me and sumo and me and the Grateful Dead, she and Harry Potter, one of the things we recognized is that all of us, when we become fans of something, so you and the hockey team that you support, New Jersey Devils, and me and the Grateful Dead, and me and sumo and Reiko and Harry Potter, is that we are part of a tribe of like-minded people. And this is an image of me behind me at a Grateful Dead show with my friends. My Grateful Dead friends, a tribe of people. I can be at a Grateful Dead show and turn to anybody and have a conversation with them, even if I had never met them before. So this idea of a tribe of like-minded people, and for the weirdest thing, I got involved with this tribe of sumo fans. And, I got to the point that I was this crazy, tall, white young American man who knew more about sumo than the vast majority of Japanese. So I was a kind of an outlier there, and that people respected my fandom for sumo and my knowledge of sumo. It was crazy.
I just want to see the pictures of you in this sumo diaper. That would be an awesome photo.
Yeah.
Hey, let's.
You'd have to pay me a lot of money to pull those out.
I'll bet. Let's throw it to Justin in our question command center for some questions around fandom and how does it apply to business. Justin, you're up.
Indeed. Hopefully we got audio here. Can you hear me okay?
2 thumbs up.
Can you hear me? Yep. Good. Okay. So interesting conversation. I love how you wrote the book with your daughter. We've got a question in from April Aquina, who writes in from Redondo Beach, California. And she's curious, who was the most interesting CEO business owner that you spoke with while writing your book? And what did you learn, and how did that shift your thinking?
Interesting question. Thank you very much for that. So my favorite CEO that I spoke with, his name is McKeel Hagerty. McKeel Hagerty is the CEO of Hagerty Insurance. And so what I love about the story of McKeel Hagerty is I've asked a whole bunch of people, are you a fan of your auto insurance company? And almost everyone says no. My auto insurance company? What are you, crazy? And McKeel Hagerty told me, David, everybody hates insurance. Everybody hates the business I'm in. I recognized I couldn't try to market my business the way everyone else does. I couldn't try to be the low-cost provider. I couldn't spend more money on advertising. So I specifically went out to build fans of my insurance company. So what McKeel Hagerty does is he and his team go to over 100 classic, they do classic car auto insurance, by the way. So they go out to over 100 classic car events a year. They're meeting with people who are already fans of classic cars. They have a YouTube channel with over 1 million subscribers. Can you imagine an insurance company with 1 million subscribers to their YouTube channel? They have a drivers club with 650,000 members. So they're doing a really fabulous job at building fans for their business. And McKeel Hagerty told me, David, I built my whole business on building fans. And they are now the largest classic car auto insurance company in the entire world. They're going to grow by 200,000 new members this year, double-digit compound growth every single year, the entire business built on fandom.
That's amazing. Well, I tell you what, as a 1973 Datsun 240Z classic car owner, I think I might become a fan and have to call Hagerty's as well and see about becoming a fan there. We've got another question here. This one's from
Justin. You should do that, and I'll tell you why. Because you and I have something in common. I bet you didn't know this. I have a 1973 Land Rover Series 3. They are insured by Hagerty, so we both own 1973 cars. It's a weird year, but I think it's a good vintage.
You better believe it. And mine's bright orange, so it's perfect for Chester.
Love that.
So speaking of that, Chester, we've got somebody from Mississauga, Ontario, so a little closer to home for you. Wade Alexander writes in, as a small business owner, how can I apply fandom to my company and my clients?
Great question. So what I've learned about this idea of fandom, I mentioned it a couple of moments ago. It's the idea of building a tribe of like-minded people, just like a tribe of people who love the Grateful Dead, a tribe of people who love classic cars. How can you build a tribe of like-minded people for your business? Now, under normal circumstances, meeting people in person is incredibly powerful because this idea of a tribe is actually rooted in neuroscience. It's rooted in neuroscience because when we're with our tribe, we're safe and comfortable. And when we're not with our tribe, we feel vulnerable. That's why when I'm at a Grateful Dead concert, I'm safe and comfortable. So can you build that tribal feeling within your organization? But you might say to me, David, I can't meet people in person right now. And that's absolutely true. So I want to share an idea around neuroscience that can help right now, even in, as we're recording this, a pandemic. And that's the idea of using video. Now, I'm going to demonstrate for you a concept of neuroscience called mirror neurons. Mirror neurons are the part of our brains that fire when we see somebody doing something as if we're doing it ourselves. And that's a really important concept because you can use this concept for video. So let me demonstrate mirror neurons by showing a lemon, a slice of lemon. And if I take a bite of this lemon, it's really powerful. It makes my eyes close and my eyes are watering a little bit. My mouth puckers up. I can feel it on my lips and on my tongue, and saliva's running. And I mean, it's powerful to bite into a lemon, and I'm feeling it. My brain is firing, but your mirror neurons are firing too. And you're tasting a lemon, right? And that lemon taste comes from mirror neurons. So here's what this means for you to develop fans. If you use video like we're using right now, cropped, similar to how we're cropping this right now, it appears that I'm about 4 feet away from you. That's the most powerful human connections, about 4 feet. And so when you use video, people's brains are saying to them that they are in the same room with you, even though intellectually they know that they're not. Their brains tell them they are. This is precisely why you feel you know a movie star. Even though you've never met that movie star, you feel you know them because you think you've been in the same room with them. And so, your show, Chester, so fabulous as a way to build fans, so fabulous as a way to engage with people, because our brains are saying, yeah, I'm there with David. I'm there with Chester every week. I'm able to hear what's going on, see what's going on. And that's really, really, really powerful. So I recommend to any person who wants to build fans for their business, even during a pandemic, can you use video effectively? For example, maybe create a YouTube channel, or use video on your website, or use video in your social networks. And you just look at the camera, natural. You don't need all special lights and all that sort of thing. And then just post it up and you're good to go.
David, it's really interesting when you talk about the neuroscience, and your daughter is a neuroscience scientist at this point. There's a lot of talk about the differences in generations. You got 5 generations in the workforce. You've got 5 generations that are now your customers. As you're looking to create these raving fans for your products and services, do you need to be really attuned to the different generations, the different fans that come into your business?
Yeah, good question. So we did find that for most of the things that we looked at, the ideas around fandom were universal for across all countries, generations, races, genders, and the whole thing. Most things were. So for example, this idea of neuroscience and mirror neurons, it's throughout all humans. So the use of video is effective for everybody. But what Reiko really helped me to understand is the very, very important aspect of inclusiveness and using inclusive language when you're appealing to the millennial generation and Generation Z, because they've grown up being extremely tolerant of different people, of different genders, of different sexual orientations, of the LGBTQ plus community. And so many times, I'm not saying maliciously, it's perhaps unconscious, but so many times older people, I include myself in this, the way they create marketing, the way they write, the way they do business, the way they build a website can be not inclusive. Or what can even be worse is if you try to have for example, a photo with including people of color in it, it can look like tokenism. And there's a lot of aspects of this that if you really dig into it, which we did, that people don't even recognize. For example, there's AI algorithms, artificial intelligence algorithms that people use to create their marketing, their websites, even using social media. And those algorithms generally will optimize for something that is clicked on frequently. And so if you have a majority of a certain type of person that's visiting your website and they're clicking on something in particular, then the algorithm can optimize for that, excluding everybody else. So you have to be very, very careful about how you deploy algorithms and artificial intelligence and machine learning in what you do.
Excellent. We've got one more question from Justin, and then I want to talk about passion, because I know that's a big part of being a fan, whether you're a hockey fan or a sumo fan. So Justin, you've got one more question.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I'm pretty passionate about having some lemonade right now. So when we're done here, I'm going to head out and grab some. You definitely got me wired. So we've got a question here from Mumbai, India. It's from Amit Patel. He says, being on quarantine, other than video, how can I create fans digitally without really having any real, human connection in person? And then goes on to say, and also, what are some good tools that I could use for creating that inclusion on my website?
That's a great question, Amit. So I think that what I've seen over the last 3 months is that so many people have either tried to be exploitive of the current situation, and we've all seen these kinds of things. Oh, there's a pandemic. This is a good time to buy clothing. We're going to give you a discount if you buy our clothing, inane stuff like that, people trying to take advantage of it. What I've seen, though, that works really, really well is to be generous, to provide gifts to people without any expectation of anything in return. So I'm going to share an example from a big company, and I'll share an example from any company, tiny companies, or even one-person companies. So Duracell, the battery company, is a company that we wrote about in our book, Fanocracy, because they have something called Power Forward. It's a program where they provide free batteries for people in need. And that program had already existed for several years before the pandemic. But in the last 3 months, Duracell has given away for free more than 10 million batteries. Now get your head around that, 10 million batteries. They give away free batteries to first responders, to healthcare workers, but then they've gone even further. They recognize that one of the biggest problems that they could help solve was that in hospital waiting rooms, people weren't able to charge their cell phones. And the reason is because they would go quickly to a hospital with their loved one who was suffering symptoms of COVID-19. And then they would drop their loved one off and they would wait in the waiting room. But they left their house so quickly, they didn't bring a charger, and they didn't realize how long they might have to be there. And so what Duracell did was they put charging stations into the waiting rooms at hospitals. And again, it's free. You just charge up your cell phone. So this is giving a gift with no expectation of anything in return. This isn't trying to sell batteries. This isn't trying to rent the cell phone chargers. This is giving a gift with no expectation of anything in return. But what it does is it builds fans, and it builds fans for the long term. And people over their lifetime now will remember Duracell helped them when they were in need. So that's an example from a big company. Smaller organizations, I know that a lot of organizations put a form on their website that you have to enter your email address to get a piece of content. I recommend eliminating those forms completely, just giving your content away without collecting email addresses. Give it away for free. Give it away with no expectation of anything in return. I believe very strongly that the more you give to the universe, the more the universe gives back to you. And Chester, you're doing that right now. You don't charge for this show. It's free. You're giving your show away to the universe. And, it takes your time to do this show. It takes your money to pay for the infrastructure to do this show. You could be, for example, in the Adirondacks right now, going canoeing, but no, you're here doing this show, giving away your time. So can you, Amit, give away something that has value with no expectation of anything in return right now on your website, and that will help you to grow fans?
Well, that leads us perfectly into passion. And I know this is a big part of what you do. Great fans, raving fans are very passionate about it. So we're going to run out of time. So we need this in like a minute and a half. Why is passion like the absolute must-have ingredient to create fans and in your world of Fanocracy?
So passion is infectious. Passion is infectious. That was the biggest surprise of all of the research that we did around fandom, is that people who have a passion, that becomes infectious. We met a dentist. His name is Dr. John Marashi. Dr. Marashi came to me and said, David, I can't build fans. I'm a dentist. I said, Dr. Marashi, what do you love to do? He says, I love to skateboard. So I said, let's showcase that passion. So Dr. Marashi has skateboards on his walls in his practice. He skateboards from one examination room to another. He has an Instagram with 14,000 followers, and most of the photos are him skateboarding. On his website, he has pictures of him skateboarding. And now he's not one of 10,000 dentists in Southern California. He is the skateboarding dentist. And it grew his business by 30% last year. So passion is infectious. What can you be passionate about?
Awesome. So we love to give great tools to our listeners. So to sum up, 3 big tips on how you create raving fans in your business. Just 1, 2, 3. What would they be, David?
The first thing, always, always, always tell the truth. You need to really focus on being truthful. Be kind and generous. We talked about it just a minute ago, but the more you give to the universe, the more that the universe gives back to you. And finally, it's not finally in the sense that it's so important, is passion. So many people have their LinkedIn over here, which is just business. This is very important stuff. And here's Facebook. This is where I have fun. Put them together. Show us what you love. That passion is infectious.
I love that. Great advice. Hey, listen, we ask every guest, it's the Gratitude Live, Leading with Gratitude Live, right? Where did you find your gratitude today? # find your gratitude.
Find my gratitude. I am so grateful. I have so much gratitude that I'm able to do my work. I'm able to make a living by helping people to grow their businesses. I mean, it's fabulous. I feel like I don't work. I feel like I'm able to have fun because I'm so grateful that people reach out to me every single day on social media, through email, and they say, David, thank you for what you do. Your ideas helped me to grow my business. And I'm grateful that they're willing to speak out and tell me that, because it just makes my life and my work so much fun.
Excellent. My dad used to say there is no substitute for enthusiasm. And certainly you bring that enthusiasm and that passion to your work. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your tips. For the introduction to creating raving fans. I think that's spectacular. So thanks so much. We're going to close out the show here with a word from our sponsor at Harper Business Books, who promotes our wonderful book called Leading with Gratitude Live. And we've got a wonderful little slate that's going to come up here any second. Alan Mullally, the guy who saved the Ford Motor Company, said, I love, love, love this book. And then a not so subtle reminder to buy me, buy me, buy me. Well, listen, I want to introduce you our next guest. His name is Rohit Bhargava, and I'm going to butcher that name. He's on a mission to help the world be more open-minded by teaching others how to be non-obvious thinkers. He's the founder of the Non-Obvious Company. He's entertaining, he's original, and non-boring. We look forward to seeing him in our next show. Well, I want to thank Justin in our Question Command Center. Wave to your fans. He's got raving fans. He's in the Question Command Center. And the greatest producer in the history of online programs, Brent Klein. Love the orange beanie, Brent. Well, I hope you'll join us again. Same bat time, same bat channel every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern. Give us 30 minutes. We'll give you great information, great inspiration, and a roadmap to create your own culture of gratitude where you live and work. You know, as we go through this COVID and we go through all this unrest, I hope we all become a little more grateful, a little more kind, and a little more patient. I've been grateful to have some time with you guys here today. Take care. We'll see you again soon. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. We're out. Cheers.